everybody. It is another episode of the Dragon's Den. I am Dragon's Fury, aka we know the drill by now. And with me, we have the illustrious Mermaid Queen.
Hello.
And I know you guys haven't heard her in a while. She's been doing busy things, whatever. Also, we have the non-verbal Zuko, our new addition, our 2-year-old pupper. So we will have various sounds that include him in existing with us as he is getting accustomed to our lifestyles. But it also leads us into what our topic's going to be. But before we get into that, I want to thank our new follower that we got on Spotify. You found it, you found us, you've enjoyed it. Cool. Awesome. Great for you. And we also have made subscription services available. So the links are in the past 2 episodes and will be on this episode as well in the future so that you can subscribe. Doing the subscription will get you access to the first bonus episode, which is available now, the second, third, and all of the future ones that come, and the vlogs from our con trip is probably going to be there, outtakes, whatever, various things on that front. Also, it gives you access to the Discord. So as soon as you become a subscriber, it will let me know. I will check out everything, and then I want you to reach out to me on either Instagram or the Reddit page. Say, like, hey, I'm a subscriber, such and such. Awesome. I will then send you the Discord invite, and it will bring you to the server for the Den, where we'll have our discussions of the episodes to come that have been, comments, concerns, suggestions, etc. This is also where we will place any pertinent, random, fun, or otherwise content as well, so that way you are getting your bang for your buck. It is set at $5, so if you got $5 to spare for the month, you get all the bonus content that is available to you and counting in that month. Unfortunately, there is no set schedule, so you definitely want to be on with your notifications, because we will drop anything and everything as I see fit and or feel like. That is just how it rolls, and hope you got the idea of listening to the other episodes. So, enough of me rambling about housekeeping things. We'll get back to that at the end. So we're kicking it off with our main discussion, which is the petos in the games, and how we view them, how we interact with various pets, what's considered pets, this, that, and the third. And as you know, we just get into it, and what happens, happens. So, in honor of our new addition here, who would be your favorite in-game pet?
Right now, the first one that comes to mind is your buddy in ESO, Waffles. We love Waffles. What is he? He's a small claw.
Waffles, for those who've been keeping up, ESO stands for Elder Scrolls Online, and as you know, I'm a sucker for ESO. And anything Elder Scrolls, essentially. Number 1 Skyrim, but since I don't have Elder Scrolls 6 yet, I have online to keep me occupied in between jumping into Skyrim. And Waffles is a saber cat cub. So he will consistently stay small, and he's a non-combatant pet. So he
is the tiniest of boys.
He just exists. And we named him Waffles.
Which took far longer than it should have.
I think it took a reasonable consideration of various unnecessary naming schemes, as well as It just happened to look at us when we said waffles. Since on that list, then that means we have the horse, who's the mount.
Yes.
I do not remember what we named him.
Couldn't tell you.
I have
Waffles was the important one.
Waffles is the important one. Waffles is the one who's going on the journeys right now. There is a fawn that I had gotten recently. That was the speckled one from last month.
I do not recall.
It was the one where I was like, oh look, it's from the like veil, and I was like, and it was exactly that. It was from the veil of a deerling fawn. So yes, Waffles is pretty up there.
It's definitely first that comes to mind.
Yes, definitely first that comes to mind.
Out of personal games that I've played, I would have to say, in terms of not necessarily like cuteness, but in terms of pets that have abilities, I would have to say Senu when I was in Assassin's Creed Origins, because she was essentially like the lookout. So she was a hawk or a falcon, and you could like send her up, and that's how I mapped out, entire camps and fortresses, and then killed everybody.
Yep, the classic. So. Yeah, the original, because Origins being the beginning game in lore wise for Assassin's Creed. So our Eagle Vision, when it comes later, is derived from Senu and her courageous and sometimes nonsensical exploits in surveillance of like where she could go and then can't go, and then you're just like, well, but it's right there. Why do you even say these things?
They really did an interesting concept with it too, where you typically go to lookout points because they're fast travel points and things like that, but as you progressed through the game and you collected more of those, you were able to expand her distance, essentially. So they would say, oh, you can see further, but it just meant that you could fly her further away from where you were located to do whatever you needed to do, which is great if you're trying to if you're playing a storyline or one of the side quests or anything, and you have to scout something out and she's the one who's got to pinpoint its location for you, it helps to be further away rather than closer.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as useful pets with abilities, Senu is definitely got to be preferred.
To flip the script on that one, there is the worst options, which is the ones that your kids bring when you have them in Skyrim, and it's ridiculous. So you can obviously you can have kids in Skyrim if you have the Hearthfire DLC, which at this point, if you're a fan of any sort and have the game, you have those DLCs. It's kind of like a given, because Hearthfire allows you to build your own house in the holds that do not have self-built homes themselves. So basically added the other locations, that way you can build a house there and be stationed in whatever is your favorite hold. Mine being in the, was that the Rift? No, not the Rift. It's Lakeview Mariner. I forget which city it's off of. And so that's my main one, because as the name suggests, it's by a huge lake. But also, down below on the hill that you're built on is a random necromancy witch just chilling down there with a sacrificial table and all that in your backyard. Great.
Cool.
And next door is a drug den. So, fun.
So you live in the ghetto.
No, I don't. That would be Riften, because they legitimately have the Ratways, which is essentially as you so gracefully put it, the ghetto.
Yeah.
And so when you, along with an Enso sidebar on the other DLCs that would be relevant to this, I'll get to the point, I promise. Is
I'm
Dawn
sorry,
Guard.
I'm of no help to you on this subject.
Which is Dawn Guard. So in Dawn Guard, that's where you're fighting the vampires, and you get the vampire aspect questline, and so it allows you to get other like different pets or whatever. So you can get like a battle troll as a quote unquote pet. It's essentially a follower, but you are able to get battle huskies. And so, but you can have them as actual pets. So if you have gone through that and you actually stayed with the Dawn Guard instead of going towards the royal family of Serana, then you would be able to be like, open up a dialogue with your kid and be like, oh, we have a gift for you, and it's like a pet, and then you can have like a dog. So, you know, normal things, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't give them the dog of the battle husky or like the stray dog, which is just kind of like around, you can come home to two possibilities. One being a mud crab, which, as the name suggests, it's a crab, but it's huge, or a rat, a legitimately mutatedly large rat, which are called skeevers. And the fact, and I'm not, now that I think about it, there's a possibility you might be able to have like it randomly spawns as a spider, like as being like a smaller one as being a pet. I'm not sure, that doesn't sound right, and I'm not making much of an effort to go look. Sue me. And so I remember coming home, as I do very rarely at the times because you're just adventuring and excited with whatever, gone for months on end. I come back, and in this playthrough, I had two sons. So one of them comes up and is like, Dad, I found I found something. It's like, can I keep it? Now, mind you, you don't know what it is. So if you're lucky, it's following the kid and is whatnot, and you can see what they found, being a mud crab or a skeever, being a freaking giant rat. And I'm like, no, just no. And then they try to give you like the poutiness of it and be like, oh, whatever. What makes it worse is that it doesn't just despawn or anything.
No, of course not.
No, like, so if you choose not to like murk your kid's former pet, you're just stuck with it. It's just there. I think it despawns a little bit after a certain amount of time, but it's like, I don't want to come home to a literal giant sewer rat. Like, it's messed up. It's like coming home and being like, hey, and they're like, hey, I found something. I found what? Well, it's Master Splinter. I'm pretty sure there's some turtles around here too. It's just freaking bonkers to me. That was like, who wrote that idea in and then it get okayed was, nah, you guys messed up on that front. So that's the worst.
Sounds like it.
Ugh. So now I know there's not a lot of games that say that I would play that have pets.
I was thinking, are they wolves or are they dogs in Minecraft?
They're wolves, but then like when you domesticate them, it
becomes a dog.
It basically becomes a dog. But yeah, they're essentially wolves. I don't know. They seem very temperamental and glitchy.
They're like the Tamagotchi pet.
Yeah. It's like
constant attention.
They do, and like you can have them like sit or whatever, but the way that they're written, coding wise, it's like, yeah, if they're active, and you get attacked by like a skeleton or whatever, like that's their natural like prey or whatever, they'll attack a skeleton, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is great. But if you tell them to stay and you get like attacked by mobs or whatever, or it gets attacked by mobs, it just kind of stays there. Like it perpetually just stays there. It doesn't like override. It's like, oh, I gave it the sit command. Yeah, but its life is in danger. Like, come on. Like, I shouldn't come back to life and or like circle back to whatever to find like a tag because the dog got killed. It was like, oh, you came to kill my dog. Or the lack of swimming fluidity of a mechanic, because like the dogs can swim, but not in like certain areas, so they'll just get like stuck, and then they'll drown, and you're just like, but like why? Why haven't you fixed this? And then of course you can just become a crazy cat lady with like all of the, which is.
I didn't realize you could adopt cats.
Bonkers.
I feel like they move so quickly.
Well, it's because they're the leopard. They're essentially leopards, but like those straight up just turn into regular cats. So like you'll see them like chasing the ocelots. That's what they are. They're ocelots.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'll just see them randomly like attacking something, food or whatever. But like you'll domesticate them, whatever, and they straight up just turn into like a tabby cat. It is so weird, but I guess like reasonable, like as a pet thing, like it's pretty solid. It's a basic thing, like nothing too crazy in that front. But
there really aren't a lot of games that have like pets, unless it's like specifically a pet game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like what was that? What was that cat one that everyone was losing their mind over? It like won best something. It won an award, I feel like, and everyone was like head over heels for it because you wore the cat.
Oh, you wore the cat?
Yeah, you wore the cat
that's right.
The game.
It's like it was like a third person, and it was a console game, right?
Yes.
And it was like a apocalyptic world, and you're a cat.
Stray.
And you...
That's what it's called.
Stray.
Yeah. Freaking wild. Like, and it's tabby. What? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I didn't play it or anything. I'm not saying it's like.
I actually want to play it. Like visually, it looks amazing.
Right.
You know, it's definitely.
And, it's on Steam and PlayStation. So yeah.
It's on Steam. Interesting.
And so it's just the idea that we're in like this sphere that we're. I don't know if it's just like as a collective society or whatever that we're just like in such a need of like attention and like affection or whatever that as being the cat is like the big thing. Because don't get me wrong, like yes, it's beautiful, yes, it's a unique game, whatever. But I put money that we don't have yet from the subscribers, that. The initial draw to it was the fact that you're playing a cat.
Oh, that's 1,000%.
Which is wild to me.
Especially because I feel like, I mean, that's how we identify the game. We don't know what the storyline is. We don't really, like, the bits that I said were, from clips that I saw on the internet. Like, it's like, look at this game, you get to play as a cat. Isn't that so fun?
Right.
Because if you want obsession with cats, you just go to the internet.
Yeah.
It has always been that way, and it will never change.
And that's why I am completely and utterly with the same thing of, like I've said in previous episodes, cats are people. Cats are reincarnated people. You can't tell me otherwise. Because the way that they behave is very human. It's, I want attention, but only on my terms. But if that's not met properly, I'm going to make the ones involved in my life pay for it. Mm-hmm. Intentionally or unintentionally. And so it's just like...
I mean, if you think about it, like, if you die and you reincarnate as a cat, that's honestly, like, best case scenario. Because people expect you to, like, be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can knock shit off of counters. You get people waiting on you hand and foot. They have to clean up after you when you go to the bathroom. Like, none of the responsibilities of being... You don't have to pay bills.
But that kind of still goes against the whole reincarnation thing. You're supposed to do better, you're supposed to learn, you're supposed to become enlightened, and the fact that if you're reincarnated as a cat, there's nothing forcing you to change. I'm not saying, bad things haven't happened to cats or don't happen to cats or whatever, but the collective of the majority of being, either a cat owner or a dog owner, it's the cats are people, dogs are the select gods of the people. Because there are certain dogs where you're like, that's a whole ass person. And it's usually the ones when they're on the couch and they're just like sitting upright. That's a person.
Yeah.
That's not an animal. We're consider animals, but like not in the sense of like generally descriptions. Like that's person. You're doing person. You're doing people things. That's weird. That's suspect. And you have like the stories of it's like you'll have like an older one had like passed away or whatever, and then like they find like a new puppy. And it's
like the same.
It's exactly the same thing. And I was like, yeah, because it's the same.
Yeah,
it's the same animal.
Dog.
Like
they literally made a movie about that.
They're in cycle. They're just being cycled, cycling through because they're not supposed to leave life and whatever, which is cool. And
they perfected the formula and said we don't need to change anything.
We don't need to change.
So that's why it just keeps being the same dog over and over and over again.
And over. Yeah, I was like, oh, we got it right on this one, and we're done here. So
I mean, they make it look different. Like those are the updates. Are like aesthetics.
That's the word. That's a big word. We can words here. Yeah.
Because skins, when you're talking about animals, just
that's problematic.
That's not good. So yeah, for aesthetic purposes, they're like, ooh, let's release a new version.
True.
But it's the same base formula.
Yeah. That being said, what would be something that you would want to see more of in games or would like to have changed of like what's the current like I guess roadmap of when pets are added, because I know there's like a whole Reddit thing about it. It's like, can you pet it kind of deal, and it's
definitely a big deal.
People's obsession is crazy. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, to be fair, if you do put an animal in a game, I want to be able to pet said animal.
Because, the reason for me wanting to is vastly different from what other people want to.
Why do you want to pet the animal?
I want to pet the animal because that's bad karma to not pet the animal.
That's true.
That's bad juju. That's how you have a curse placed on you, by not giving,
That
tribute.
should just be a game. That, like, you have a companion who, like an animal appears, like, for each, like, quest or chapter or whatever of the game. And depending on how you interact with said animal at the beginning determines whether you succeed or fail.
Yo, that'd be
at
wild.
the quest.
That would be crazy. That'd be fun. I don't know how that would fully like pan out, only because my brain doesn't work like that. But yeah. I feel like I could get behind that. Maybe not as like a main thing, like the whole game is like that.
No,
or maybe
but
like
for
a
like
DLC kind of like side thing.
For sure.
I remember
people would totally lose their shit over that.
This was some time ago.
But I also feel like they'd ruin it because they'd just be like, look, if you're nice to the dog, you can, succeed at the blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
Yeah, but you wouldn't be nice to the dog otherwise. So what is really being said here is that someone has to tell you
that you have to be nice to the dog.
That you have to be nice to the dog. It's like, otherwise you would have been terrible to the dog and or just, like, neutral. So that's really on your fault, and you're telling on yourself. But crud, what was I saying? I don't remember.
Can't help you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate.
You were asking about what I would want to see in games, or just in general, with like pets in games and things like that.
There we go. Now I remember.
And you were talking about the Reddit.
And so it was, like I was saying, there's some time ago, which I know for anyone that knows me, it doesn't really mean much because some time ago could literally be yesterday. I don't experience time like everybody else does, and it's a problem. And
it's timey-wimey.
And timey-wimey gobbly goop. It was a D&D idea.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is that you were playing your character's pet, or like your character's companion.
I remember reading this online, yeah.
And he has big itchy. Is he scratching? No, okay, he's not scratching his ear.
No, it's not his ear.
And so it's like, yeah, so you're going and questing through the eyes of the various companions or whatever the animal one is. And so I was when I read that, I was like, that is a great idea. And then within the same second, I'm like, it's a great idea, but I would not recommend doing it. And that's mainly because of the fact that the individuals that I've played D&D with, I don't know how these long, drawn out, extremely elaborate games have played out, because people's attention span seems to not exist in our circle of influence long enough to get something like that delved out. And a idea like that, I feel like, is more than just a one shot. Like that's something that needs planning, because there's so many side things of how certain things would play out or not play out. It's like, how do you write a story for a group of animals that effectively can't communicate with each other, and you have to get various abilities or whatever so that you're still able to get through this world that's created, but along the way still hold true to the thematic that you're trying to keep, is that you're just kind of just like a random group of pets, and is just like, oh, okay. Which, yeah, I was saying. But on the same topic of things that I read, it's like, word prompt. My fun stories. So there was a prompt that said, you wake up after dying with your pets or something along the lines. So you wake up, you and your pets have died, but you're reincarnated into another world, and your pets have been reincarnated into mythical beasts from various mythologies or whatever, but they still view you as their owner,
like they're human.
Yeah, as their human. And the one that really stuck in my mind was, it was a shorter one, and I wish I knew who's the actual user's name, so could give a proper shout out to the guy who created this, or girl, what have you. That they had died in a house fire, and so it was the main character who's talking in it. I guess he's trapped under a beam or something. There's no getting out. He's gasping for air, the smoke inhalation, whatever, and his pets are with him, just on him, on his chest, and sitting by his side, whatever. And when they wake up, one has I think the cat becomes a sphinx. One of them became Cerberus. Another one became a nine-tailed fox.
Ooh.
And so he just wakes up and he just sees it, and then after reincarnation, they have the ability to talk, and so they're like, oh, this is and very their original selves, but they're cognizant of the fact that they're different.
Yeah.
And I was like, see, that is such a cool thing, because it was yeah, that's how it would be, because we assume that the pets only have intelligence up to a certain age of a child, and that always threw me for a loop for a while, Because I was like, so are you saying that they're dumb, or are you just saying that they're like information sponges? I don't know what you're trying to convey with this. Because as I say, like, kids are geniuses. So you saying that, my dog, my cat, or have you, or both, are out here just like looking at me mad crazy because they are well aware of what's happening, or like around them, or what's being said, you know, figuratively speaking, at least in definition and understanding. And you're just like, oh yeah, they're about like that of like a 7-year-old. I was like, what? That's a lot. That is.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like, I've seen the videos on TikTok with the buttons. They're having full sentences pressing these buttons, and they know what they're saying. And it's not 100%. Just like a training thing. It was like, oh, this sound of things means.
No, like they're forming their own sentences, their own human sentences. Thing.
I was like, all right, that's.
I think the like original one to do it. I believe the dog's name is Bunny. She's like a sheepadoodle or something like that, like black and white dog on TikTok. And like this dog is like cognizant. Like I'm pretty sure it was like an edit in like a trying to like freak people out kind of way. But they made it look like she was becoming like self-aware, and they were like, "Why dog?" Like, she pushed the buttons that said "Why dog," and it was like, the edit was really good, and I'm hoping it was an edit, and that they did not train this dog to talk, and only for the dog to become self-aware and not understand. Can't be asking me those questions. You can't ask why you're a dog.
You can't ask why I'm a dog. He's like, why dog? That's a great question, but I am glad that you are a dog. So there we go.
Because being a human is definitely the short end of the stick.
Yeah, and so, oh my goodness, it's so ridiculous of just the things, but at the same time, I feel like also the reason for a lot of these games not implementing like pets or pet mechanics, because it's like, it doesn't seem like it's always the best choice. Like, in a lot of games, like, don't have room for having a pet with you, but
that's definitely fair. Yeah.
And so I was like, but it also would be something that I would want to see more of, sure, or like different aspects. And then you have like the nonsense that is League with their pet title,
right?
Which is just like the other things that exist. So like you have like gremlins for Yorick, you have Jaime's turrets, and those are like mechanical, but like in like his dragon skin, for example, they're tiny dragons. They're tiny dragons on little pedestals. So it's
Love
like, that's why I always use the skin. That, and when it's summertime, I use Pool Party, which is hilarious because it gives the spaghetti code of League is just wild. That when you get your home start, which is your home guard or home start, whatever it's called, it's basically a movement speed boost, right?
Okay.
And he moves via whatever the skin's equivalent to is a rocket coming out of his hair. So essentially, this is what I think it's supposed to be, is like that he has a kind of like a gadget helmet under his hair, but he has so much hair, it's hidden in there. So it will just kind of be like this robotic arm that pulls out a rocket, and he is flying in this direction. And it zooms, right? So I think it's like a water gun went in his Pool Party skin. But the thing is that skin makes it very aware that he's moving by his head and dragging his body because it's a spaghetti neck. It is the most unnerving, hilarious thing that you will witness and that you will do on purpose. Because it's just like, that's how you know you're moving. When you see your neck stretched out like a spaghetti noodle. But also, why? Why is that a thing? I couldn't tell you. Wouldn't know. They couldn't tell us either. And that's why we have it. So it's just little fun things. Um, what 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 would you be your ranking of your pets? So you got, we'll do it with two-parter. So we got our traditional domesticated panel, and then our exotic panel, or the non-normal ones, and then whatever in between, which kind of, so whatever. So obviously, like, you got cats and dogs,
Mm-hmm.
you got your birds or whatever. So where would you?
So we're talking like animals that exist in nature, like on the planet of Earth.
Yeah, like as people have
Yeah.
as pets. Yes.
Okay, so traditional pets in reality.
Traditional pets in reality, and the non-traditional pets in reality. What have you? Beings.
When we so like actual like exotic like like snakes and
like snakes and or capybaras, or the rescue people having like kangaroos.
Do people really have capybaras as pets?
I don't know. That's just what came to mind. But let's be real. Probably. Someone probably. I literally saw a TikTok of someone having a pig.
Yeah,
and
that
they
just
weren't
feels
on
like
a farm. They weren't at a farm. They were in a regular apartment with a pig that apparently communicates via screams.
That's a questionable choice.
The question being,
why? So what am I ranking them on? Like just what's my preferred?
Yeah, what's your preferred? So we have obviously dog's number one. We have Zuko.
Oh, of course.
So who, like, what kind of pet would be like number 2, 3, and however many we got?
So we're just ranking animals basically that I would want to have as a pet.
Yeah, that's what the question was.
Sorry, I was just clarifying. Yeah, dog's definitely number 1 for sure. Number 2, probably gonna go with like honestly just a cat. It feels like an easily accessible pet, and I don't hate cats. Like the cats that my brother and my sister-in-law had, they were fine.
Yeah.
So, not a terrible option. Not definitely like the distance between 1 and 2 is noticeable, but that's still what I would put there. Oh gosh. I mean, I've had a hamster before. It was fine. I feel like they just die so easily. There was a whole like thread on TikTok about the weird ways that hamsters die that people have had as pets. Like they really going out in style. I don't know. There's not a lot of animals that I would actually want as a pet to take care of. To be completely honest.
Cool. Super engaged. Really love that for us. I'll take it from here, dear.
Yes, please.
So let's see. All right. Obviously, we got number 1 being the doggos. The number 2 being cats. Obviously, isn't as drastic of an opening as yours, because we unofficially had a cat. Me and Munchkin. Because, so, story time. When we were still both back at the parents' house, we would be outside, till like dark, whatever, and we, would go out, do this, third, and etc., right? And we would keep the garage up. And so, we had the garage up, we were out and about, whatever. So we come in for the night, close the garage, and go back outside. We're having dinner, right? And then we start hearing like random noises, right? And so me and as he's known by of his various names, Papa Wolf, Wolf Dad, etc. But Nightwolf, really? Why we messaging? Oh, it's our co-host that is not with us. So shout out to Infernal for messaging me on the Discord without being here. It's fine. He's at a concert. It's not his fault. He's out there making content for everyone to listen to and share. So hopefully we'll get some pictures from that. I know he put it in the Discord, so we'll probably like switch that over. But that aside, so we start hearing it. So like Nightwolf starts hearing the like random scratchings, whatever, and then I start hearing the various things, this kind of like shuffling or whatever, and we're like, what is that, whatever, and then it stops, and after like a little bit of time, we start hearing like a low, like kind of not necessarily like a traditional meow, but a crying meow, as one would do if you're stuck. So somewhere along the line, the neighborhood cat wandered into the garage, was underneath Nightwolf's car, and got scared. I'm assuming got scared from the door closing, ran further into the garage, and then was now trapped inside under the car because the way out was blocked. So we go in the garage and we look on it, and it was like, yeah, it was just Snow White cat that we effectively named Snowball.
I also had a cat named Snowball once.
Was it also Snow White?
It was.
There you go. So it was meant to be. This is what happens. And so we figure out that's what it is. We open up the garage and he runs out, whatever. So periodically we'd see Snowball come back or whatever, and again just would hang out at the house. And so we was this, and eventually like we lost track of wherever Snowball ended up being. I think the neighbors may have like took him in this and whatever, but we hope not, because they lost the pet in a very sad way, and we were like, all right, well, that's definitely your guys' freaking fault. So it was just like, cool, well, we hope you guys aren't trying to take care of the pet because reasons. Not going well. And so, cats were never too far off from the main list. Oh my god, this is a interesting picture that Infernal sent. Also, it is crap. But I guess that's what happens when you take a picture from the nosebleeds and you have to zoom in.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Oh well. You'll if you subscribe, you will be able to see what that picture is about and what we're talking about. So gotta see that bonus content, especially if you enjoy what we do. So we got dogs, we got cats. Now I'm not saying this out of like personal. It's just more of like this is just my thoughts on the smaller ones, being like a hamster or a bird or like a fish would be like third pick, and they're all pretty close. Like if you have to like put them in spots, then it would be bird, fish, and then like a hamster would be.
With hamster, are we doing like all rodents in that category, like guinea pigs?
Guinea pig, yeah, those are nice.
Chinchillas.
The people have yeah. I guess yeah. We can just lump them all together, And then you start going
ferrets.
And then there we go. That's what I was about to say. You start getting weird with like ferrets, because there's enough people that have ferrets that it's not a weird thing to come up in conversation. That if I roll up on someone or someone rolls up on me and we're talking and we're like, oh, what kind of pet do you have? And they say a ferret, I'm not going to look at them sideways till Tuesday. And you're just like, like what? Like who has a ferret? What is a ferret? Side note, the gorilla, since you don't like his full name.
Because it's terrible.
No, the other things we call him is terrible. He didn't know.
It's terrible for my ears.
Fine, that's fair. I'm being sensible, but he didn't know what an axolotl was. Not saying that you should know because of like pet reasons. It's just the fact that he didn't know what an axolotl was baffling to me. And he's not that much older than us. He hasn't broke 40 yet. So it's like, how do you not know what an axolotl is? And I bring this up because he bought someone a shirt with it on it because they knew what an axolotl was and they liked them. So he was like, oh, well, I'll get you the shirt. It was like, oh, yeah. It's like, so...
Did you just think it was some kind of, like, mythological creature?
No. So it was a gaming axolotl.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had, from Hot Topic. And it had,
of course.
I don't know what it said, because it was in Hiragana. And so I didn't fully read what it was, or what it said, because actually, now I think about it, it might have been in katakana, so I definitely don't know half of that, because I don't remember it all. But he thought it was anime related because of that. And I'm like, that's a problem. And so we laughed about that. And so he was trying to describe, like, say, the colors. It was like, you know, like, it was a black shirt, it was like pink or blue, maybe, but then he was like saying he thought it was like pink and purple at the time, and I was like, alright. And so I'm like trying to think of the various anime, various games or whatever that this person could have got this from, that they thought it was, because he was had headphones or whatever, because it was a gaming thing, so he had a controller and headset, right? And so he finally gets to a point where he calls, I think he called the store. He said he called the store and asked them what he had bought recently. And they told him, it was like, oh, you got this shirt and that one, the axolotl shirt. And he's like, the axolotl? And I was like, wait a minute, you legitimately didn't know what an axolotl was. And I was like, this is crazy to me. Because as soon as he showed me the picture, I was like, oh, that's what it is. It's an axolotl. And so he is like, but no, it's like, no one knows about that. And so I'm giving him a hard time about that. And so, of course, you know, people keep trying to come for me or whatever. And it's like, it's not going to work, right? So he was trying to prove a point that I was like, no, this is not something people just know or whatever, right? So he shows Nightwolf. And so I asked him, I was like, you know what an axolotl is? And he's like, what now? Is that like a space whatever? And I was like, no.
Space whatever.
So I send him the, so he shows the picture, and I'm freaking trying not to bust out laughing again. He looks at it, and he was like, oh, that looks familiar. And so Gorilla is like trying to say, it was like, see, he doesn't even know. I was like, what are you talking about? He's over here, sorry for the lack of visuals, over here of the age bracket of generation, right. Like, he's considered a senior citizen, and and Gorilla, you're here with me trailing behind, because you haven't broken the threshold yet. Like, I'm gonna hit, you know, dirty 30 before you hit, you know, freaky 40. So I don't know what you're trying to prove here. It was like, at least he had somewhat of an idea, and it was like, and so Nightwolf is like, you know, there's the generational gap. It takes a lot more for us to get up here to whatever. I was like, well, by that analogy, you should be in his spot and vice versa, since he had no clue. And I was like, it's wild. I don't know what spurred that. Sidebar.
Talk about weird pets.
There we go. Cool.
You went from ferrets to axolotl, which is technically a water ferret, so... That's an interesting statement. Tell me I'm wrong. It's just as strange as a ferret to have as a pet, but it's in the water.
I would say...
They're similarly shaped. They're, like, long.
That's a stretch. obviously you have the snacks and the danger noodles and all of the aboves. Those are safe. But, like, yeah, pigs. But pigs being in non-farm areas. That's wild to me. Like the video I said earlier.
No, agreed.
That's crazy.
Like,
why do you have
they bathe in the mud? That's how they protect themselves from the sun.
And it's like,
so how are that's how they clean, is with mud. It sounds very counterintuitive, but it works for them. How are you providing that for the pig if you are not in a farm or farm adjacent area?
I don't know.
What is the point?
That too. And I was like,
and are we
looking
talking
for
like a teacup pig, like pigs that are naturally small and
yeah, no,
small?
it was one of the ones that were naturally small. Yes, no,
okay.
You can't have a full on hoggo in an apartment. That's not happening.
300-pound sow just chilling in your apartment.
Just chilling. But don't get me wrong, people still.
They would if they could.
Yeah, they would, they could, and they do, because, you know, you have the ones with, like, the tigers, you know, like, ones with the wolves, but usually those are the ones that have the, sanctuary kind of stuff,
yes.
where it's like, oh, they have, like, these little acres on acres of land or whatever, and they technically run a sanctuary for
I would love to go to a wolf sanctuary.
There's one down south.
I feel like that would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, there's one down south. And so, yeah, that was, but, you know, that would be a very leader in life kind of thing. Only because, you know, Zuko.
Yeah.
And hopefully he will get better. Obviously, like, we're still in the first week.
We've only had him 3 days.
Yeah, we have. Like, we've only had him for 3 days.
Today is day 3.
This is fresh. So fresh of this being recorded is, us having him for 3 days. And,
that's true. By the time you're listening to this, it will be 5 days.
Yeah, we would have hit the week mark by the time this is live.
A business week.
So, you know, we'll be hanging through. We'll get various updates of such as time goes through. So we gonna wrap it up here shortly because we're reaching that hour mark of, you know, talking your ear off with various things, me and my ADHD and sidetracking. And so would like to once again thank you for those who are supporting us currently via following us, getting those listens up. This is the 10th, 11th? Which one is this one?
I think you said 11 earlier.
This one should be number 10. Yeah, so this would be our big 10th episode, and honestly wasn't expecting it to get this far, to be real. I've tried multiple times to get this started. I've mentioned that in the beginning, kind of like teaser episode, that it was a big trial and error kind of thing, and it really came down to Apollo kind of like inviting me to guest star on his show, Consumed by Television. So that's also out on Spotify as well. Bless you. And go check that out. I do recommend it. It's a great listen. He is very good at deep dives of TV shows and movies and trailers of what is shown, what you may have missed or whatnot. Warning though is that if you are not up to date on the episodes that are, or the shows of the episodes that are being discussed, don't do it, because like I said, it is very of a deep dive. Don't ruin the show for yourself like that by listening to spoilers. So read that description, see what that's about before you listen, but it is a fun thing for sure, and he is a pretty awesome dude, so he's the one who's kind of like really got me going to bring you this show, and also other podcasters that I watch are really just kind of, you know, that motivation from a different place that you don't expect it to come from kind of deal. So hoping that we pass that along through this show, do it. Go for it. Take that leap of something you're trying to achieve and accomplish. To better yourself as well. But then on the other side of that as well, like if you're out struggling, just kind of find something that allows you to kind of escape from whatever's like giving you that hard time, so that way you can regroup and re-strategize to get through whatever's going on, and hopefully that you may or may not get that from the show, from this show, or whatever show that you may listen to in your days. So always remember who supports you. Always remember there is support for you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday, the beginning of your weekend, the end of your work week, or the beginning of your work week. May have you. Everyone's out here on the grind. That being said, I am a Dragon's Fury.
I am the Mermaid Queen.
And as I like to say, you are welcome to stay, but we are not. So until next time, adios.
Boy.